Started. We got it every time.
Yeah.
Chamber here, you want to bring them up?
They should be able to come up.
Can't believe nobody wanted to come out in the heat. And be with us.
Do we have anybody online with us besides Troy?
Otherwise, I don't know. Anybody else? No, just Chamber.
Wrong too.
Ron came out.
Well,
That's right.
Ron's always. Okay, go ahead, Troy.
Hey everybody, good to see you
Hey, Troy.
somewhat. Okay, I'm going to share my desktop. How do I do that? I'm gonna start here. Okay, you can see this okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, gonna run through a couple of things, some updates and some things going on. Start off with pointing out that our carvings for causes just raised $46.55, and we're going to be splitting that $23.28. Half goes to Chelan County Mountain Rescue, and the other goes to Leavenworth Mountain Association. Those were the two nonprofits we identified back in May when we set this all up. So this is actually the biggest haul we've ever had. So we can continue this into 2026.
Yeah.
And again, these carvings are made by our carvers that are here from MyFest. Was there a question? Nope. All right. I'll keep going.
Awesome.
Carl, thank you for sending me that email suggesting maybe a welcoming ad. This is just a screenshot of InDesign. Here is where I put your thing. I had been thinking of doing a greetings from myself, and when I saw yours, I'm like, oh, it's perfect. I'll do a greeting from me and a greeting from Carl. One's kind of to the event and one's kind of to the town. So thank you for that. So we have your seal and all that ready to go.
Yay.
So inviting people to the keg tapping at 2 o'clock. I wanted to point out our welcome center, something I just had done a survey for Marcia Massey in Island County about welcome centers across the state. And this had been from our last report that we'd put in. These were our 2024 numbers that we had nearly 48,000 walk-ins to the visitor center and 6,800 phone calls. When you add 33,000, which is the number that we greet coming into the fest hall during Christmas Town, we get around 80,000. That said, this is the results of the most recent survey. We are at the top. When we combine those two at 80,000 plus, we are beating out not Seattle, but Forks. So blessed tween girls everywhere. Forks is still relevant, apparently, because they have 78,000. And the message to me was that they're going to be, watch out, Leavenworth, we're going to be breaking 80,000 this year. Which to my reply was, I haven't even added the 14,000 ambassador interaction, so I'm good. But just really puts it into perspective that the kind of visitation and a lot of people have asked us about AI and going automated and touchscreens and all that. And I went to in Bavaria, popped into a couple of the visitor centers for inspiration, knowing we were going to be redoing ours, and was absolutely uninspired completely because everything I walked into were completely sterile rooms with slate floors and brochures on the wall and really no friendliness, nobody greeting there. And I was full of questions, and there was just it wasn't very friendly at all. So I'm glad to see our numbers high, and also doubling down on our guest service and being there for the community and also all of the visitors that come. Just an update on our opening now set for early 2026. This is the window before. This is what it will look like after. The glazing has been ordered. Only took 4 weeks, and we'll be here August 25th. So starting August 25th, all of the new windows on the street level will be installed. And that will include the ramp on the entry, so that will remain. We've had a couple questions if we were closing that up, and we are not. It will still be where you enter into the visitor center. Here's just kind of some construction photos starting what it looked like, where we were. Keep an eye on that black and blue patch on the ceiling there, on the staircase going up as a reference. Look for it in the picture on the left. You'll see the big difference, that wall being completely opened up and the new beams in place. This building is giving a sigh of relief, I think, because it has a fighting chance in an earthquake now, where before there was a lot of weight pushing down on the middle of this building, creating a 4.5-inch belly. Now with the new beams in place and all of that weight being distributed to the exterior walls, the building has, like I said, a much more fighting chance in an earthquake now. Something else I wanted to make you aware of and announce is that we are just launched today quietly Leavenworth 360. It is a new program that we've had. It's been being worked on for about a year. I'm going to stop share here and go to share this right here. If you go to leavenworth.org and scroll down, it's right on the homepage. And this is what's kind of cool. Some of you have seen this before. If you've, those that are on the lab committee, let me turn the music off. But it is a way to explore and get to know Leavenworth better. You can see Farmers Market, downtown, Fest Hall. These, if you click on, you will go there. But I'm going to show you guys, being the city, I'm going to show you like info. You can see all of where the parking lots are. And if you click on these, it will take you to that. So let's go to P8. And then you get to see that lot and where it's at in perspective to everything else. If you want to see where charging stations are in town, you can see that here all throughout town where those charging stations are. You click on it and it will take you to those charging stations so you can see what they look like and what brand, etc. What's also fun is it shares our festivals. So clicking over here on Oktoberfest is going to take you to a shot. Now you see that the little icons turned orange because we're in fall now. So you can click on this. And this is what it looks like when you click in on something. You actually get to go and see what that activity is. Here's somebody, everybody doing the Stein holding competition. If you click back, I've got to show you the beer dancing lady. They caught this. Sometimes if you just need a good moment of joy, just come and find this lady. You scroll around here and her right here, right there she is in this.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
gonna go crazy. The beer guys are there. But she is having a good time. Yeah, there she goes. This covers all of Oktoberfest. You see what it's like, Christmas Town. Again, just a great way for people to explore, get to know stuff, get to see what the festivals are like. And this has lots of room to grow, of course, especially the info section, adding more info here that people can use. There's a guided tour. This just focuses on the attractions that are in town. So going up to Ski Hill and then getting to see that.
Wow.
Historic Lodge. So this has been developed. We are the first people to use this. It was developed by Howl at the Moon Productions and Jamie Howell and his team. So yeah, a really cool way to highlight a lot of our assets and things in town, and also being able to put more safety stuff and things like that. Could kind of utilize this for the river next year, possibly too. So anyway, I'm gonna stop sharing that. Go back to this. So that was Leavenworth 360. And before I stop, I'm going to just do a Recreation Ambassador update. This past weekend was massive. Strange thing, second weekend of August is always really, really high for the pedestrian counts as well. It's sort of this, I think it is that point in the summer where it's kind of in between the two holidays. People are kind of doing their last ditch thing to get out before, because strangely, many years that we've been doing the pedestrian counts on Front Street, the second week Saturday of August is one of the biggest days of the summer, always consistently. Hopefully, while I have been prattling on, you've been reading some of this information from last weekend. 3,200 interactions, removed about 11 to 30-gallon bags of trash. All of this comes on the heels of this article that went out today. Carl, I understand you were quoted in it, so you and I were both interviewed, as well as some other people, but it really shone a light on the problems that are happening, the problems we all knew would happen when the Forest Service staff got cut. And so anyway, this article, I'm also doing an interview with, her name is Carrie Cusimano, and she is doing a feature on the Alpine Lakes Wilderness, but also kind of more on the ambassador program. And I also have now an interview with Como to talk about the enchantments as well. So our little area is getting some highlight. Hopefully that means it will get some support, money, decisions, something of the
Hopefully,
anyway.
hopefully. Yep.
Are you guys gonna do a wrap on the windows before it gets built out? Cause it's on that corner.
Yeah, once we get the windows in, we'll have something on the windows.
Yeah, cool. Very cool.
Troy, are you ready for questions or are you already?
Yeah,
done?
yeah, fire away.
Okay. So the first one was, on Leavenworth 360, is that operational? Is that on the website?
Yeah, that's on the home. You can access it directly from the homepage.
Okay,
Yeah,
All right.
leavenworth.org homepage.
all right. And the issue with the enchantments was that because they're in dire conditions, is that actually like because there's a lot of garbage up there, or what's, I mean, other than what we'd expect, but I mean, there's some criteria we're focusing on?
I think they've gone from 7 rangers to 1.
Right.
So
Right.
all of the non-management that is happening is it is garbage, it's graffiti, it's people
Doing
taking
waste probably.
Yep.
Yeah, there's barbecue.
Illegal camps.
Barbecue?
Yep.
Yeah,
brought-
people have been pulling makeshift barbecues. Yeah.
Good.
Like, like the aluminum pans that you would buy at the grocery store, like to make a roast or
Yeah,
something.
right.
Like using
taking
those,
that
putting
away?
briquettes in it, and then a little grill over the top of it.
Wow.
They pulled stuff like that out of there.
Okay.
Any other questions? Oh,
Last thing, I think you said, I think the last time was, the local sign up is active. Is that on the main leavenworth.org for Oktoberfest for the local day?
Oh, Oktoberfest. This is where I always have to make sure I'm saying that's why I've been stressing leavenworth.org, because we do have 2 websites. I just want to point out, someone who I thought would have known that was surprised by that recently. Leavenworth.org and leavenworthchamber.org. 2 different websites. Leavenworth.org, obviously visitor facing. Leavenworth Chamber is inward facing. Going to leavenworthchamber.org. If you go to programs, RSVP Locals Night is right there. And I guess this opens on 9/1.
September.
9/1. All right, any other questions? Great, that 360 looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
I know. It's I'm saying I forgot that I was showing it to you guys. I was like, it's really easy to play with it and like
It's eventually gonna be seasonal, right, Troy? So wintertime, it'll switch to a winter scene, so, right? Eventually
oh
be seasonal.
yes. Let me back real quick. I promise. Yeah, once you're in it, there is music. I'm turning it off, but you can change seasons. So we just changed to fall. And then you change to winter. So you can see each of those things, how they happen in different seasons as well.
That's great.
The other thing we're going to add eventually is hidden in those little 360s will be little hidden gems to be able to do a fun scavenger hunt.
All right,
Okay, thanks you guys.
thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Troy.
Brian.
Thank you. Yeah, I had, Troy had put out that they still had a few slots open for their small ads for the publication they put out. So I go, oh, that'd be cool to have one of those, so I sent him up one with my name and said, put me on for one of your small ads. And that's what he was referring to my email, that they goes, no, we need to put you in the front with me. So that's how that came about. So it was kind of cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. All right, we're going on to, and then it's exit interview. Right, Shandell?
Correct. We have Josiah with us online. Josiah, you have the floor if you would like to take over.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. My video is not working. I'm not sure why, but I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
We'll need you to speak up. You're pretty quiet.
How's that? Is that better?
Oh, it's hard to hear you.
Josiah just talks very quiet.
Quiet.
So.
I do talk very quiet. Is that any better?
Yeah, that's better.
Not much.
How about now?
That's even better.
That's better.
Okay, I apologize. I haven't used Zoom in a while and I'm having to switch the devices and I think it's all set. Okay, well, yeah, thank you for having me be a part of your meeting. My name is Josiah. My video is not working, so I apologize for that. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. I am here to share the results of one of our audits of the city. And I'll explain a little bit more about that in a bit, but it'll be just one of the audits. And before I get into this audit, I do need to give a little bit of background. Normally for the city of Leavenworth, or by normally, I mean in years before, we had been performing what are called federal compliance or single audits. But the federal government had established many years back what they call an alternative compliance examination if the government meets certain criteria. And the criteria is basically this: if the only reason you need a federal audit is because of the ARPA money, or it's also called the state and local fiscal recovery funds, then they approved this alternative compliance examination, which we could do instead of a full single audit. The difference is that it's a bit simpler. There's less procedures, so it's less time consuming and less costly. And for Leavenworth, for the year under audit for 2024, they did meet that criteria, and so that is the audit we performed. And I'm here to talk about the results by sharing on my screen here a copy of the report, which will be issued shortly after this meeting. This report, if you were to compare it to reports that we've shared in the past, is going to be a lot shorter. As mentioned, the audit itself is much simpler, but I will go ahead and get into the results. So as I mentioned, it's titled "The Report on Compliance for the Coronavirus," also called the ARPA money, or also called the State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds. The purpose of the audit is similar to the audits that we performed in the past, to understand the requirements related to those funds and how they're supposed to be used, to understand the city's controls to making sure they use it correctly, and to audit the uses of those funds to determine if it was used correctly or if there was any non-compliance with those funds. This first page is just more of a cover letter explaining some background, and the results are mainly on this page right here. It gives, again, a little bit of background about the compliance requirements that we audited for these funds. Basically, our procedures were to look at what the city used the funds for and determine if it was allowable use. And I believe these funds were mainly used for that park and playground equipment. And so we were required to audit that. We found that the uses were allowable. And you can see down here at the bottom, we have our opinion, very short and to the point, just letting readers know that, hey, for the city of Leavenworth, we found that the uses of these funds complied with the requirements and no issues were identified. There's some more background here about what kind of issues we'd be required to report if we found any problems with controls or processes, but we didn't identify any of those. So this is all of the results of that compliance examination. So this portion of the audit is finished. We have a few other portions of the city's regular audits that we will have to finish at a later time. We've had quite a large amount of federal audits this year. And so we're focusing on finishing those, as those have a deadline along with this audit for the city to be finished and submitted to the federal government by the end of September. And so we're going to finish those, and then we will be back most likely in early October to finish the city's financial statement and accountability audit. At that time, we'll also be holding an entrance conference where we'll talk more about the details of those audits. But since this was very quick, easy to do, needs to be done by a deadline, we're issuing this report first. So yeah, and I think that was all I really planned to share with you for now. Does anyone have any questions about the report or the audit that we performed this year?
Questions?
No, pretty clear.
I do want to take a moment and thank Chantel for her help for the audit. She's always been helpful. It really went super smoothly. We were finished in a matter of a few days. And as I mentioned, we'll be back in October to finish the rest of the audits. And at that point, you'll hear from us again. So again, thank you for your time, and have a great rest of your evening.
Great.
Thank you. Thanks, Josiah.
Josiah.
Thanks, Josiah.
And for my next number,
What's going on? All right. On to sidewalk snow management. Any day.
Yeah. So I left a sheet of paper, there's two on everyone's space. So in the council packet, I identified the three options as I see them. And really the goal tonight is to walk through each one of these. And I'll explain in detail, give you time to read this. And then I also provided the different sidewalk map, just so everyone has a clear understanding of what we're looking at as we're talking about this ordinance, or I should say policy direction. So ultimately, what we're talking about today is specific to the residential zone. I want to center this conversation around that versus any other changes to political zone, but specifically residential. And I know we've had a lot of conversations about this, so just to give a little bit of background, so everyone remembers, right now in our code, we only require snow and ice maintenance of adjacent property owners in the commercial zone. We don't have any requirement in our code for the residential zone. So after the last study session where we discussed this, it was a January 20th meeting. The direction that I got from the council was to investigate staffing to do sidewalk maintenance. And so what I brought here today are three options. It's kind of a spectrum of options. One is city staff not taking on any more work. This is just putting the responsibility on the adjacent property owners, like we do with commercial forest. The second option is to have city staff take on the additional sidewalks, but at a different priority level than the current sidewalks. So that would look like, right now we have 24 hours from a storm that we address the safe routes to school sidewalks in the residential zone that are currently in our policy. This would be within, right now I'm saying like 72 hours. We would then have the second set, so a second tier of sidewalks, which are the rest of the residential zone that aren't safe routes to school. And then the third option is bringing on additional city staff so that within 24 hours of a storm, we could tackle all of the residential sidewalks. So I guess I'll walk through each of those and tell off the bat, any questions about those options?
This appears, besides the equipment procurement, the additional costs to increase the seasonal employees to full-time employees. When they're not clearing snow, that cost is supporting other operations, correct? I remember a previous conversation. So $45,000 for the increased staffing isn't all for snow removal. The ongoing costs for that would be spread across, they would be effective in a number of different ways, right?
That's correct. So the main driver behind this is just for snow removal. We would be able to pull in other things.
Yeah.
But right now we don't have any other needs for them beyond snow removal. Obviously, they'd be doing other tasks. well, but this would be the driver behind switching from 8 month seasonal to 5.
Is there a charge? The city can assess residents to cover some of this?
I know this has been discussed before. I'm not aware of anything. We'd have to bring in legal counsel on that. I know, I actually re-listened to that study session today, just to remember everything we talked about. I think it was brought up that maybe we have a charge of utility bill. As far as I know, I don't think that's something that is feasible at this time. I would have to get legal counsel input on that. But I don't know how we would go about doing that. That's not something
Yeah.
that's standard in other cities.
It's one of those, okay, that's a question too, right? It's like, the parking. We didn't have a resident kind of program set in place with meters, and here we are kind of going backwards a little bit, saying, oh yeah, community, and let's work on taking care of the people. So we do this and it's back to like enforcement, find somebody or, or just do it and then send them a bill. I'm just kind of exploring all the options of just saying, look, up front, it's gonna be $25 a month or a season or whatever this fee is to cover this. This is happening. Instead of the alternative is neighbors that don't do the sidewalk, the city will do it and we'll tack on. Right. So either way, it's kind of getting paid. So it's like, it's just kind of an option. I was curious to explore.
Yeah.
The city did it, right? It's gonna be a thing. It's gonna be a thing, right?
Yeah, and again, I can get legal counsel's opinion on that.
Yeah.
That is not standard in other cities.
Well, some cities it is, to say, if you're responsible and you don't do it, we'll get it done and bill you.
But not to charge them upfront.
Oh, not a charge up front, but I mean, if you put the responsibility on them.
Well, what I'm hearing from Travis is treat it like a utility.
Yeah.
Water bill, sewer bill, garbage bill. It's gonna be on your
It's a function of the
utility
city
bill.
as
You're gonna get it either seasonally or you're gonna get it year round at a smaller rate,
Right.
obviously, because you're
Yep.
not getting hit 4 months out of the year, you're getting hit 12. But yeah, it could potentially be a utility bill, and I agree with Andy, we would definitely want legal counsel involved. I don't see that it's not something that we can't go down that road. But from your political standpoint, you're adding another utility to everyone across the community, because you would have to find an equitability.
Right.
Would it be done by square footage? Would it be done by
Yeah.
square footage in front of your home? There's definitely a calculation.
Yep.
That would have to be considered.
Oh,
We need to evacuate. Sorry.
it's gonna be a fun video to watch back.
Well, that's why I stopped recording.
Yeah.
Put back.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember what part. Someone was just asking a question about.
We were just talking about it being an enterprise fund.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
The
thank you.
legality of it, which I'm sure there is, but yeah, a lot of work to be done there.
Yeah, I think the most common thing in other jurisdictions is to have the code language requiring the adjacent property owner to maintain sidewalks. Then if they don't do it, the city, either city staff or city hires a contractor to go out, remove the snow and then bill after the fact. I'm not aware of anyone who does it proactively and pass it on a utility bill. So again, like I said, we can get legal counsel opinion on that, but that's not standard, not the same, we can't.
Well, it was pointed out, by Ron, at the last time we talked about this, that there's not sidewalks in front of everybody's houses.
Right.
Yeah.
Mine included, and so would I get charged for not having, for snow clearing and not even have?
Not only
sidewalk?
that, some of the sidewalks you can't even walk on currently, let alone remove the snow on them.
Yeah.
I mean, Benton Street is a really good example.
Yeah.
There's like a whole block where there's maybe half a sidewalk that's usable because the rest of the hillside is covering up the sidewalk. So,
Yeah.
I mean, kind of to a previous point that Ron had brought up weeks ago, we don't even have ADA compliant sidewalks in some areas. So I don't know. I feel like this is a multi-layered conversation. At least it is for me, because I feel like we should at least have walkable sidewalks before we start talking about how we might be charging residents for the use or removal of snow on them. Like, we should make them passable.
100%.
But at the same time, if we wait until all of the sidewalks are built out in ADA, then this is the point we're never gonna have, we're never gonna have. I don't know, it would be a long time, say, before we have that condition, so how do we have a code or policy in place?
Well, I don't think it needs to be like one and then the other. I think multiple things can happen at the same time. I'm not saying that we'd like put this off. I think it's important to have this conversation because we've been cycling through this for several years. Off and on every, like 6 to 8 months, and we haven't landed on anything. So I think talking about these options is really important, but I also think at the same time, we need to recognize that we've got some work to do as a city to upgrade our sidewalks to make them actually passable for our residents.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, like you're saying, Ann, we can definitely have multiple conversations at the same time. But I would really like to eventually come to a decision on this, and then we can continue with our sidewalk maintenance at the same time. But I just don't want to take us fully off on that tangent today. I really do want to stay on sidewalks.
I would be open to an option where this is a city expense, because the different areas of town are so different. I mean, you look at a place like Benton Street as opposed to a place like Tumwater or Meadow, where the streets are so wide, it is almost impossible, given the volume of snow and it being collected at disparate times, for those homeowners to really stay on top of it throughout the course of the winter time. Like, if you go on a Christmas vacation and you have a snow event, you come back, you're sunk. Like, that's Cascade concrete. So I think in the meantime, yeah, it's a multi-layered conversation, but right now at this moment, I would be open to this being a conversation where the city looks at taking on most of that.
Like option 2.
Option 2, yeah.
And that's where, so again, I try to kind of have these different levels depending on what level of service you want and the amount of money you want to send up front.
But I would be open to a modified option 3 too, because I think if we're looking at option 2, then the reality of what we're looking at is if we have 3 major snow events, say within a week, back to back to back, those sidewalks are not getting clear for 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, it's gonna take a long.
It's going to take a long time, and that's a dissatisfier. I mean, real world, is there an option 2.5?
You told me what 2.5 would be.
Yeah. I mean, what would one skid steer and half of that and half of that FTE, instead of 45?
It's pretty much exactly half, because both of these are based off 2 bobcats and 2 staff members moving from 8-month seasonal to full-time.
I mean, would that move the needle for you? Or is that something where option 3, we really need everything in option 3 to make it, a workable.
So is your question like, if we got one more FTE full-time year-round?
Yep.
And we got one more skid steer, does it cut the timeline down from 72 hours to 48 hours?
Thank you for being my translator. Yeah.
Perfect. I would say that 2.5, we'll call it, is challenging. Because really what happens right now, we have 4 bobcats and 4 staff members that go out during a storm. And they're like, they're not just clearing one sidewalk, they're coming back. At least is what I'm being told. I'm not the expert on this, but I think they're coming back multiple times. So they try to hit the sidewalk before the plows pile snow on it so that they can move some of that snow. Then the plow comes through, pile snow, then they clear it again. Otherwise, what they've told me is if they aren't getting to that sidewalk until the plows already come through, it's so much snow for them to get through that they end up having more challenges clogging there.
Welcome to being a resident.
Yeah, wait a second, I have that same problem, right? The snowplows,
Yeah, all the residents have that same problem.
And
I
I'm
mean, even
fit,
without,
right?
even without sidewalks, sometimes it's immovable once the plow comes through.
I mean, hey, I am the first one to tell our team, like, I don't shovel the sidewalk in front of my house right now. I'm very aware.
Yeah. I don't, raise your hand, like, I have anything for you.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
So with option 3, that gives us 2 more staff members. Right now we have a little over 7, I can remember it was exactly 7.5 miles of sidewalk that we are maintaining with 4 staff members. So adding an additional 3.3 miles of sidewalk, we would need 2 more staff members in order to do the level of service we're doing right now. That's where I think 2.5 doesn't move the needle as much. Like, it doesn't give us as much bang for the buck.
You'd have to have an arbitrary or a halfway stopping point.
If we bought 2 skid steers, how long would they last? What's the typical lifespan of?
We just adjusted it to 10 years. It's either
I
10
think
or
we went
15.
down.
I think it went down to 10 because they were 15 on the ERNR.
Yeah, I've got.
So the cost I based off the ERNR here, the annual cost is for a 10-year Bobcat. I
Okay.
think that's what we We just revised our ER skip.
So 9 grand per skid steer.
Can we phase it in though? I mean, like, instead of getting just 2 for this season, like 1 and see how that plays out and then do another person, another, instead of just
Well, I
jumping in and
just
saying
thought,
2
like,
once.
We don't have to make this decision and never address this ever again.
Right.
Like, what if we
Yeah.
tried on option 2 and see how you do staff wise, depending upon how the storm cycles roll through? And see if it's less than 72 hours.
Totally.
And we can evaluate it again at the end of the winter and see how that's going. And if we really need to buy more equipment and we need to upgrade staff members, then we have that conversation, but we don't know how this is gonna play out yet, because you haven't done it yet.
And honestly, that's the very bottom bullet point that I did not give you time to read. It's like,
Yeah.
we'll require evaluation after policy after
Yeah.
1 year.
Yeah.
For that exact reason, we don't know exactly what that's gonna look like in making that change.
Mhm.
I'm
It's
saying
easier to
it's
step up
like-
than it is to go all the way and then try to step
Yeah,
back.
absolutely.
I would have I would look at it harder too, if you, like we just said. If you're, and you just explained, if they're doing it once before the snowplows come and then a second time. If you talk about the ones that aren't on this route that we're gonna add, that we're talking about adding. And they're just gonna hit them after the snowplows hit it, it's gonna be tough, it's gonna be a long day for those guys. So maybe revising and kind of looking at that, I don't know, just a whole comprehensive kind of look at
Absolutely.
the whole thing, yeah.
And that's where, the reason I said 72 hours in here is because I want to give time to accommodate the fact that it's not gonna be as efficient. But then also, I want something realistic in our policy so that if someone calls the city, because this is a common thing we have, someone will call the city and say, hey, you know, the opposite side of Pine Street, then the multi-use path. Right now, that's not being kind of maintained by the city, but that's a frequent place where we get calls. And right now, we don't have anything to tell them when a resident is calling complaining that they can't walk down that sidewalk.
Yeah.
So if we can point to a policy that's clear and attainable, like, because right now it's at 24 hours for these priorities. 72 hours, I think is reasonable. I tried to give us enough buffer.
It's totally
so maybe
reasonable,
we
but for
can-
your staff, I'm just saying, if they're not even out there for a couple days, it's just gonna be more of a burden, you know, it's gonna be
Yeah.
harder.
Well, and is there a way that we can, so you know how you have the 4 phases of road snow removal that you've set up with the priority? Is there a way that we could set that up for the sidewalks as well, so that people kind of know where they are
Yeah.
in the removal cycle?
I think that was the goal of option 2 is what we have right now is our safe routes to school. That would be priority 1 for sidewalks. Everything else would be priority 2. So on the other page, the map, red is what we currently are already doing. So I'm sorry, and I should have put the zone on this map. But red is what we're already doing, gray would be like priority 2. Of what will happen after priority 1 is addressed.
But just to ask about your map, I'm staring at it here for a little bit. So the owner snow removal sidewalk sections are currently just that one line between Evans and Birch. And then all this back here by Park Avenue and then downtown.
There's a little bit north of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, generally.
Okay.
There is more that's being added with the, pine grass, alpenglow. So there's more sidewalk that's being added up that way, and then the multi-use path that is extending upscale. So there is a little bit more that's shown on this map right now too. Yeah.
And we search out different scenarios for different people, for different roads. Because with me, the snow plow comes down with all the snow, goes comes across the street with all the snow, plows it all, so it's all along, I don't have a sidewalk, it's where a sidewalk would be, and keeps plowing until my driveway has snow that high and big snowballs in it that are really heavy. And so,
I understand it. I'm happy to bring that back as another conversation. If it's possible tonight, just to focus on the sidewalk.
Right.
Just so that we can get to more of a decision point, so I can bring you back a draft policy. That'd be awesome. Sharon, I understand your concern. It's something that we do hear from people that they get frustrated by that verb that's
well,
formed.
not everybody has a sidewalk.
Yeah,
Right.
You have a driveway, you have a berm.
yeah.
But everybody has burn.
Yeah, everybody has a burn.
Whether you have a sidewalk or not, you have a burn.
So Andy, to option 2, the difference is that they're not being not holding them responsible. Adjacent property owners on the sidewalk, we're just allowing more time for the city to clear That's kind of the difference. Just, okay.
So, Kai,
Yeah.
what does ADA require? They require us to clear them one way or another. So is there a limit in time on that?
No, there's no time limit. It's a reasonable amount of time.
Okay.
Which I think is it's probably on purpose that they don't have a strict definition. For lawsuits and those types of things, I'm assuming is the reason, but no, it only talks about within a reasonable amount of time. It doesn't give a specific time limit. And it also just specifies you have to have a mechanism in place for sidewalks.
Okay. So this meets that, right?
Yeah, and honestly, any of these options would meet that.
Right.
Also, we gotta deal with the fact that when buildings come in on up above Pine, right? That's all city, that's all been annexed by the city, right? North
Yeah.
of Pine. So that's more sidewalks that are we responsible for those?
Not currently, but again, if we go with either option 2 or 3, we would be.
It would be, right?
And then we're also gonna build sidewalk on Ski Hill from Evans to Pine, so there are a lot more
And
sidewalks.
we're adding miles. We're gonna start adding, I mean, when these developments come in. Yeah.
And I'm sorry, that was the old number I stole from the last study session, was the additional 3.3 miles. I can't recall if that includes these new portions that we're getting built.
I don't think it does.
I
Yeah.
think it does. I'm assuming it does.
I would almost suggest, my thoughts of a 2.5 would be to get the equipment and the manpower. But
At
not
least some
have,
equipment and manpower,
was that?
at least some equipment.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the reason you put that two units and 2 more people is because of, how much of it takes to do the amount of added sidewalks. So,
Yeah,
I think but then we don't have it so stringent, of the current policy on what the snow's cleared, because we just, for the same reason that's ambiguous on the ADA, it's reasonable amount of time.
Right.
We can say 72 hours, whatever, knowing that our staff is gonna get on it and do it until the job's done, right?
yeah.
But that, to me, we're not throwing away money because the equipment is not gonna go bad. It would just increase the longevity of the equipment we already have. Maybe it's a little luxurious, but at worst. And then having people there to help when we do get snow again, and it does happen, and it's gonna continue to happen. We know that it just takes a tremendous amount of manpower, and asking the people that are already putting that tremendous amount of work in to just do more with the same equipment and the same people is what option 2 is, and I don't think that's reasonable. So I like the idea of going with option 3, but maybe not having as stringent of a timeline for the residential zones. And I also like it for the fact that, again, a lot of us hear from our constituents and they wonder, what is the city of Leavenworth doing for me? And this is something that we can do for our city and make our sidewalks accessible and usable, the ones that exist, and continue working to build more. And do something that is bane for everybody, is clearing snow on your sidewalks. And maybe it's the wrong word. And it's more efficient to use heavy duty equipment with trained operators than having every Tom, Dick and Harry out there clearing their sidewalks with their shovels and their backs and their snow blowers that are cranking out, emissions, all those reasons. I could probably come up with more without dragging it on, but I like the idea of not pretending that we're in a mountain town and actually doing something about it.
I think what got you there is, like you said, it's a great thing. What is our city doing for me as a resident, right? What only got you is these heavy loaders are gonna hit these sidewalks that are like this, and they're gonna realize this needs to be repaired, and then they're gonna get assessed, and you need to repair the sidewalk. It's like this comprehensive thing, though, this year-round sidewalk situation. It's gonna be obvious, I think, when we start getting into some of these from a city standpoint, how challenging it may be with the skid steer hit, which raises.
Yeah.
Andy, I have an efficiency question for you regarding option 2 versus option 3. If we were going to go with option 3, it's fair to say that these sidewalks are going to be hit faster than they would be within option 2.
Yes.
We all know how snow can congeal and It's not called Cascade Concrete for nothing. So
Sometimes it just falls like that.
sometimes it does. But I mean, that 12-hour versus 72-hour period, it makes a difference
Yeah.
sometimes.
Absolutely.
Would it make an appreciable difference to have those tools and that manpower to be able to hit it early, and it's taking you however much time to clear the sidewalk near a property timely versus it could take you twice as much because you're cutting through almost pure ice, you know, going the other route, like from an efficiency standpoint. And I realize it's more of an anecdotal question, but option 2 versus option 3, how much easier is that going to make that on your current?
No, I hate not having real data for you to tell you like it's 3 times more efficient, but I think it's definitely more efficient for the exact reasons that everyone experiences on their own sidewalk or in your own driveway. Once you drive over it, you walk over it, you start compacting it, it is that much more challenging to get through. And we do have the same issues with the snow blowers mounted on our skid steers.
Right.
So it definitely is more efficient to hit it before people are on it, like our crews start early.
Yeah.
Depending on the timeline of snow event, generally they'll come in at 2 AM and start hitting it before people get on it. So I can't give you a number, but definitely more efficient.
Sure.
So on this map, the city snow removal sidewalk, the red,
Yeah,
what's the time period for your city staff right now to clear all of the red?
they do all of that the 2 AM after the storm.
And what's the time period of completion?
Like the goal is by 7 AM, but by 10 AM.
So they can do all of this between 2 and 10 AM, so in 8 hours.
But it all depends on back-to-back snowstorms.
Right,
So
no,
it
I
could be this gets
understand,
done in one day, but then the
I'm
next
just
day
trying to
they're doing it again.
quantify the difference between red and gray, and red is significantly more than gray on the map right now.
That's what I would see.
So my question was, why would the time frame be 72 hours to add the gray in? Because the red is so significantly greater than the gray already.
The 72 hours was because that wasn't adding any additional staff to go through this, because again, like Clint's talking with that efficiency. Then we're going to have that staff go home.
Yep.
Like, we would need to make the determination on whether or not we want to pay them overtime to come back. That was another thing that's factoring in, like, if we're not gonna bring them back on say a snow that happens on a Saturday, we're not gonna bring them back on a Sunday. And they would need an additional time for it to be able to come back in. And then also getting through that compact snow, just taking more time, having more equipment breakdowns. Again, it's not a hard number. It's just trying to write a policy that we could.
I don't know, part of me wants to try on option 2 before we jump to option 3 that has a cost, just because we have no idea what it looks like right now.
Right.
The other thing to point out is we do have 2 8-month permanent seasonal positions right now. We can't just move those to permanent and then bring them back to 8-month seasonal in an easy way. Chantel would have to speak more to
These
that,
are
but
completely new positions that have to be re-advertised because you're changing them.
Yeah, that's a really good point too, because we can't just go straight to option 3 and then be like,
And what
No,
if
no, we're going
those
back.
just kidding.
Yeah.
Sorry.
What if those employees who applied for those jobs specifically did it because they have another job in those
Yeah.
other 4 months?
Right, yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
that's generally what happens is there's snowbirds that work at Stevens Pass or something like that, or
I think if ours,
currently.
if ours were accepted full-time or offered full-time positions, they would accept
They
it, but
probably would.
But
Okay.
yeah, but that is a very real consideration, yeah. But yeah, if we put them on full-time, we couldn't then just take them back to seasonal.
Right.
That's why I say it's easier to step up than it is to step back, so.
Now, the other thing too, actually, as I say that, I'm kind of wrong. Chantel, correct me if I'm wrong, with 8-month seasonal, we do have to lay them off for at least 1 month, but we can keep them on up to 11 months at a time. I believe. I think for the union, we can keep them up to 11 months, they just have to be laid off for 1 month.
I think you're thinking of the 24 hours maybe. I don't recall that.
Okay, I can look into that, I can't. Not an expert on union, I can't remember, but I believe that's what we discussed, so that could be another way, if that's what you wanted to do, that we could phase in. That is not make them permanent, but lay them off for a short period of time, so we have them off on winter.
Essentially, option 2 is no increase in staff, no increase in equipment, we just have a longer time to get things cleared. Is that what essential difference is?
We'll just take it on
We would take it on,
ourselves,
yeah.
but give ourselves more time.
And try it on and see how it goes.
Yeah,
Varying different types
Yeah.
of snow cycles.
yeah.
Is that gonna tax the people, tax the staff
Yes.
doing this?
And the equipment.
And the equipment, yeah.
What kind of overtime do we typically do in the winter? What do we see?
It varies.
There's so much.
But we always have overtime.
Yeah.
We have overtime year round.
Yeah.
So just on sidewalks, when we have a storm, everyone is on overtime. So 4 staff members from parks are on overtime for 4 hours from 2 AM. Sometimes they come in as early as midnight, but generally they are on overtime from 2 AM to 6 AM when their shift starts.
And then they
For each
work
snow
a full
event.
shift.
And it's not uncommon for them to have to come back a second night of a storm, like on the highway is one of the big places. We'll have 2 people usually come in overnight, but it could be more just depending on what the day looked like. After washout comes through and then puts the berm on the sidewalk, then our crew comes in the next night as well. So that could be up to but 2 to 4 people for at least 4 hours of overtime that next night as well.
So it's kind of complex analysis. I mean, saying $45,000, we don't really actually know what the added cost is, because it could, in theory, reduce overtime.
The $45,000 here was simply the cost difference. Oh, sorry, let me be clear. So that was ER&R for 2 more Bobcats on the 10-year replacement cycle. And it was the cost difference just in standard pay.
Yeah.
For the 2 8-month seasonal to get paid over those extra 4 months. That was all that factored into this. It doesn't include overtime.
So in some cases, it might reduce the amount of overtime because they are on straight time. But then if we really have a lot of snow, then they might also be on overtime, so it could increase it.
Yeah.
If you're on the sidewalk, you're probably not gonna reduce the overtime because those same folks gotta cover that second go round is where they're.
Yeah, between options 2 and 3, 2 would definitely add overtime. Seems like.
I say we do all the options. I mean, personally, like, I would clear my sidewalk if it wasn't for the plow pushing snow on my
Right.
sidewalk.
Right.
You know, I'd be fine with taking responsibility for my own sidewalk. If it was just snow falling from.
You got a wide enough
Yeah.
street up there, you can push it to the
You
middle.
know,
They can.
I like when people would do that anyway.
I would like to see, you know, the residential neighborhood take ownership of maintaining their sidewalk in some capacity. And, you know, whether we do option 2 or 3, like, I think it should be, you know, the property owner's responsibility to like at least help clear the snow.
I'm just curious on that, on Commercial Street where we're at, the most close-in free parking in the village, it seems like. People park in the streets. If I clear my stretch of sidewalk, I know my neighbor who's a renter, I know they're not getting. I know the Airbnb next to them are not getting. And the dentist will at the corner. So it's like, it's a futile effort. People are gonna walk on my part of the sidewalk and they're breaking the street anyways. So it's like, you know, you start getting that, oh, we're getting the weeds here.
Right.
But isn't that the point of the code, is if we include all, then we can start doing enforcement
Right.
for those who don't,
Right.
and we change that process.
So if we wanna go back and look at 1, then it's like, okay, enforcement, what does that look like? And if we wanna discuss that, I feel like we're on 2 or 3.
We can't even enforce sandwich boards on the sidewalks. I mean, we're gonna go around and enforce sidewalk cleaning. I mean, honestly, it sounds nice, but it's not gonna happen.
It's gonna be really hard to make it happen.
Yeah.
For next year. Enforcement part. So.
Another question I have is, do we include the commercial downtown that's gray right now? Because they have the luxury of just pushing it in the street because we haul it away.
Mhm.
If possible, I would love to tackle the residential tonight and we can definitely come back to
Right.
commercial.
I mean, it's part of the gray, so I thought I'd bring it up.
And it's included in the 3.3 miles that I'm assuming.
No.
No, I don't think that was. When I look back at my number, I think the 3.3 was just in the residential zone.
I mean, as the community likes to talk about the imbalance between businesses and residents, this is where I would be like, I want to think about the residents on this before I think about the commercial businesses. Because all they have to do is push it into the street. They don't have to figure out where it has to go and where it has to stack all winter long, because the city's hauling it off. So that's where I would like to see a little imbalance, honestly. because they already have it
The opportunity.
pretty, yeah, they have a really great opportunity to just push it into the street and call it good.
Yeah,
And they would do it anyway.
good, we can talk to that level, and as long as we're not like.
Right, yeah.
I would just like to say from a public relations standpoint, Andy has done an A+ job keeping the conversation on track.
Spoken,
And
spoken.
redirecting very well. I'm just saying,
Absolutely.
thumbs up.
For sure.
Well, and I think our big push was definitely, if we were gonna do a code change, we want to get that in place before winter.
Yeah.
My goal
Why
would
we've
be
been
whichever direction we go to have either, if it's gonna be code or policy adopted, so it's in place for the winter.
Right.
Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
What?
straw poll, I mean, I think two is,
She wants direction tonight.
I think
guys.
two is the way, leads into three, right?
I think 2's good.
Because we can't go backwards with.
To start with two.
I think we start with 2.
I'm with two.
Two.
Sharon, how you feeling?
Yeah, I heard from you, Sharon.
Yeah, I wanna know.
Yeah.
Two's fine.
Does
Two of these
anybody have
gives us
any,
a base.
does anybody have any objection with, if you can verify that we can keep the part-time seasonal employees on for,
Or another, even one more month or two,
or
but.
sounds like we
whatever.
could go maybe 3 more months and just lay them off for a month, if that's a possibility. That could be that 2.5-ish. You know, you keep, everybody wants to come up with some.
More manpower.
There's more manpower.
I would say that my
Agreed.
option 2 vote is for resident only, just to be clear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay, so from what I'm hearing, what I'll do is I'll bring back a draft. A new draft policy with option 2. I can bring back an answer about the 8-month seasonal positions. And I would say that option 3 is not closed by bringing you option 2, but it would always give us the option to look at that. in the
Right.
future. Does that sound like a fair question?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's great.
Yeah, for sure.
What is the long lead order time on skid steers if we move to that conversation at some point in the future?
I remember
We ordered that one this year and it was within a few months.
So it's not like our
Really
dump
quick.
trucks?
Yeah.
It's not like the plows we've been waiting 2 years for.
I will say that any manufacturing in the United States or globally is a coin flip week to.
Are we gonna have our new snow plows? by
For the
winter?
eternity.
Holly,
We should-
don't know.
We have a-
We know they did a chassis, right? One of the chassis.
Oh.
Parts, we're gonna get the rubber from China, it doesn't matter, it's not assembled in the.
You just have to redirect your.
I sent you from.
So
PDF,
forgive me
they've
for
got
wondering.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For 50
I
grand.
did see that.
So the skid steers are pretty quick to.
They
I
have
would say
been.
it was like a month. maybe.
Yeah.
Okay,
We're recording this, right?
better than
We'll circle
two,
back in
better
like
than 2 to 3
6
years.
months.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Or maybe
All
2 or
right.
3 years, I don't know.
so we have options ahead of us.
We have
Have
options.
options.
So Artie, I want to just clarify, so on this grid here that showed total pedestrian facility length, so the entire sidewalks in the whole town, it's like 13 some miles, is that right?
I don't have all my data in front of me. I
Okay.
think.
This is on the thing that was in the, yeah, average snowfall with 96 inches, then you had the 3.7 miles total sidewalks. Is that what that is? Okay. And I'm just trying to put this, and then the city takes care of almost half of that, over half of that, 7.4. I kept hearing about this 3.3 miles.
Sorry, that is the additional that we're
Additional.
looking at, the additional, in addition to the 7.4.
Okay. And that would that come online with option 2 or not? That would be,
It would,
it would.
it would come on like,
The city would take responsibility for that.
yes.
Just not as quick. That's
What's
the
that?
that's the part that we would commit to, but not as quick.
Okay, right,
Right.
longer window to
Longer
get to
window.
I have one more question.
Yeah, please.
Are skid steers our only option for snow removal on the sidewalks?
You have another thought?
I mean, my dad has a great John Deere tractor with a snowblower attachment. He comes over and takes care of my berm occasionally and.
When you
Just trying to
say
think outside the box.
Yeah, I think the reason that we've been going with those is just based off sidewalk.
Sidewalk
With the
width.
lower on top, that way we can get on,
Okay, I was just curious.
But no, good question, yeah. I would say that it doesn't have to be a skid steer, that's just what we found to work so far. But yeah, not committed to that, if there's other equipment that would work better for us.
We can't do like a volunteer program? Like, do they have to be a city employee to drive the skid steer?
Retirees, like, oh,
Chantel will tell you, yes.
if you volunteer, then you can use it on your burn, on your driveway burn or something.
I said,
Sorry.
another conversation we can talk about. that.
Right.
We don't rent, we don't loan.
Right.
We don't
For another
borrow.
future snow removal conversation, I wouldn't mind resurrecting the snowgate conversation on the plows.
Okay,
That they use up in Alaska all the time,
Yeah,
just for driveways.
right.
It would be so helpful to people.
we can bring that back.
Thanks, Andy.
Let's see.
Okay, well, it sounds like a direction. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad I have a fire alarm.
Yeah.
Finish this one out. I'll
So-
bring that back to you.
Part of the thing, can we get to where we're addressing? Like rebuilding the sidewalks, not to, somewhere between the next 6 months, like. Like we have a contingent, like if we pick sidewalks that it's been brought up that they're not ADA compliant either. They're not walkable. So,
Well, the quick answer is no. In 6 months, no, we can't. It's definitely a much more long-term program. Bradley and I actually took a walkabout earlier, I guess that was last week. Just looking at like long-term inventories and those types of things. It's really expensive. I mean, you're all aware of what our sidewalk network looks like. It's really costly and it's not something that we can address immediately based off just the amount of need we have. So we are complaint driven. Right now, when we receive a complaint, we'll investigate it. And if there's mitigation to be done, it's addressed first. We don't currently have an inspection program. We don't have a rating, we don't have an inventory. It's something that we're talking about moving towards. But unfortunately, just with the staffing levels we've had historically, and then also the funding that we have for that, we just have to.
we don't have funds, there's nothing in the streets to even build something toward that.
Yeah, that's what we're working on.
Yeah,
Is it on the onus on the property owner though, right, to fix the sidewalk in this city? That's what it is, right? That's why we have it set up.
That is what it says in the.
So
code.
I'm not sure, so what's the burden on the city to assess, to say, you need to repair your sidewalk? And start doing that systematically, right? I mean, there's
Well-
obviously,
the residents is responsible for rebuilding the sidewalk?
Yeah, so sidewalk maintenance is a responsibility of Jake.
What?
you're not gonna get reelected now, you bring this up. Yeah. In Leavenworth.
There are, I mean, it's hard. Yes, that is what it says in the code. There are other pieces where the city takes responsibility because ultimately, when we have trip and fall claims, it's not always just the private property owner. Like Chantel can help me speak to this more, but the city does take liability in that despite what our code says.
Well, now, if we're gonna be clearing the sidewalks now, it's definitely more, is gonna be more on the city. There's liability, right? Now we're in
Yeah.
charge of. I know, so that's the thing.
That's kind of nuts.
We don't have much of a precedent holding
Why would
property
they?
owners responsible for sidewalks, though.
That's why they're not fixed. Like the city should, we're not doing it because we don't, the city
Right.
shouldn't be doing it. That's why, right? It's the-
Well,
So again, complaint driven, like, when we receive notice, that is one of the other things we do is reach out with a letter and, follow up with the code. I mean, not looking at code
I think we need
enforcement,
to
but
change
follow
the
up like
code.
with the
you're not gonna have
code.
people rebuilding sidewalks.
Well, when we look at this big comprehensive thing, that's a good point. We really
Right.
need to take a hard look
Take a look
at
at
all of the sidewalk stuff. We
Right.
should put that for next year.
Lots of layers, man.
Yeah, lots of land.
Lots of
And
layers.
when so we have a bunch of roads that are slated, once we do the subsurface, now we raised rates, that's all projecting, right? To get replaced. When we replace a whole section of road, is it already part of the plan to do curbs and gutters? And sidewalks? So that's another answer to your question.
Yeah.
So as we replace the roads and we actually put some grade down,
Robust.
we will be putting in brand new curbs and gutters and sidewalks. So that doesn't address existing ones in areas that are prevalent, but.
Yeah, but some of the really problematic areas, and again, like, all this is just a big investment that takes time. So it's
And money.
not that we don't wanna do it, if we could do it all
Right.
right away, we absolutely would.
Right.
But we're getting closer by increasing those rates so we can get the infrastructure underneath it. I mean, we're taking steps that direction.
Put plates in.
Have we used hotel motel category? Visitors got our party.
Well, you're telling me there's.
I'm glad you brought that up.
No, we use it, I'm serious.
Oh, no, not We can use it downtown.
Only downtown. Okay, then don't let them park anywhere but downtown.
Right.
Otherwise they ship out somewhere.
Okay, let's take a break and go grab a brownie. Okay, I call the meeting of the Leavenworth City Council for August 12th to order. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Zeke, you want to start us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call.
Sharon Waters.
Clint Strand.
Ann Hesper.
Zeke Reister.
Shake there.
Travis McMaster.
Mike Bedard. Okay, we got 100% of our council and one missing administrator because he's at a state meeting for city managers. He was elected to their board as well, so we've got another statewide board person. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second. Okay, moved by Shane. Who seconded?
Mike.
Oh, Mike. That was too quiet, right? All those
He was eating
around- oh, you were eating
brownie.
brownie. All those in favor, let me see your hand. Passes unanimously. Okay, before we go on, we remember that at meetings of the council, we are respectful of each other. We acknowledge it's okay to disagree. Prior to making comments, we ask people to be recognized by the chair and address the council as a whole and not individuals. Keep your comments focused on the topic that's being discussed unless you're making comments on items not on the agenda. And that's what we'll come to first. Is there anyone that wants to speak? Yes, Ron. Name and address?
Ron Duncan, 34 Cascade Street, Leavenworth. I just want to go on record on the video that the sidewalk snow removal, and I know I've talked through some of these issues several times before, but every time it comes up with no changes, I feel like I have to also make my statement. The current sidewalks, the ADA issues, obstructed sidewalks with shrubs, obstructed sidewalks with trees, regularly obstructed sidewalks by cars, uneven broken sidewalks, trip hazards in sidewalks. These things are already illegal and known issues in Leavenworth, and the city does nothing about it. No awareness, no enforcement, no concern. Now, among three options that Public Works presented, the city is considering fining residents for failure to clear snow on sidewalks after a snowfall. But there's no concern that the sidewalk is impassable due to all these other concerns. So it'll be clear, but still nobody can use it. The options for the city to clear all these sidewalks is also problematic. Firstly, during a previous meeting, a city worker shared how difficult it is to stay on the sidewalk, and some damage always results. On Evans, a city main school route, city maintained school route. Last winter, the city sidewalk snow removal destroyed the Methodist church lawn next to the sidewalk for a long stretch, tore it all up. They were way off the sidewalk. And further down, destroyed a planter on a resident's property next to the sidewalk. Did the city repair that damage? Given the obstructed non-ADA condition of all the other sidewalks in the city, the ones that are not school routes that are in worse condition, the damage to residential property will be even greater. Finally, I raised the issue of the additional expense for the city to clear all the sidewalks. Why is the city so eager to jump right into increasing costs to taxpayers without giving residents the option to participate in keeping our sidewalks clear year-round? And is the city going to repair the residential damage inevitably caused by this process that residents did not ask for? The tunnel vision, false choices presented by Public Works is disappointing. The only reasonable first approach is for the city to go ahead, change the code, so residents will clear their sidewalks like they maintain their sidewalks, like they keep the brush out of the sidewalks, like all those issues that we have are already residential responsibilities. To add the snow removal, and then, because we're a community, create awareness to address all these sidewalk issues, so we look out for each other to ensure our sidewalks are always safe and clear, whether there is snow or not. I don't know why we keep focusing on snow removal for a few days of the year when the sidewalks are impassable all the rest of the days of the year. I just wanted that on the record. Disappointing.
Thank you, Ron.
Anybody else have anything? Is there anybody online?
Nope.
Nope. All right. We'll go on to our first public hearing on Leavenworth Municipal Code Title 13, code amendments here. If you want to make any comments, come to the microphone, state name and address, so it's in the public record. Again, all comments addressed to city council. This is not a time to ask questions of staff or city council, but to just make your comments known. I'll open this public hearing at 7:07. Andy.
Thank you, Mayor. So included in your packet is the red line version of the LMC Title 13 Water and Sewers. There are quite a few different changes, so just high level summarizing what's included in here. We have updates to title definitions, clarification of billing credit procedures for repaired water leaks, and modifications to the process for water service disconnection during National Weather Service related alerts that are consistent with recent RCW changes. So you'll see all those things included in the red lines. We also have amendments to revise the requirements when a backflow prevention assembly is required. And also to introduce the ability for the city council to waive water, sanitary sewer, and stormwater system development charges for developments that are for affordable housing and workforce housing that qualify and are approved by the council. So again, there's a lot wrapped up in this. It started as just the ability to waive the system development charges. But then as we got into that chapter, we've had a long list of things that we've been meeting there as well. So that's just the high level summary. I'm here if you have any specific questions, and I'm happy to walk through those red lines if you have anything you want to talk about.
Questions?
I have some questions.
Yep.
Starting off in the definition section. There's the new definition for multifamily water service, and it starts with 3 or more dwelling units. And then up above, just domestic service talks about a single water service tap. Where does it capture like 2-unit households?
Right now, a 2-unit household generally is billed as
Residential,
as residential.
single family, yes.
Single family residential, so like a duplex is built under single family residential, there's 2 meters. And this is coming from our rate and fee structure, talks about multifamily, it says 3 or more units, but we've never had a definition in code to actually be clear what that is.
Okay.
So that's why that was added in here. An ADU, like a house in ADU where the ADU is 900 square feet, if they're on a single meter, they're just treated as one residential.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, a duplex would be the only other scenario, and they each have their own groups. We don't allow them to have a shared meter for a duplex.
Okay.
The next definition right below, water service single family,
Yeah.
it actually says 4 individual units in a duplex. So that's why duplex doesn't have its own definition.
I did see the duplex mentioned. I mean, we've got a bunch of different dual units on one lot sort of scenario, so I was just curious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, on that. Yeah, I'm curious too. There's 2 dwellings, 2 large dwellings, and we share water with the HOA, with the condo. Where does that definition fit in, right? We share water with 2 houses.
There's 2 total. You share with 2 more.
Say it one more time.
There's 2, so you're saying there's 2.
There's 1 water bill for 2 houses.
For 2 houses, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I didn't understand the question.
So is that a single, that falls under like what you're asking, the two,
Single family residence, one hookup. Yeah.
for two houses?
There's some things that have historically happened that wouldn't be allowed under. a
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
Yeah,
it's hard to.
Yours-
Those are
Your
too
place is
big
pretty
to
old.
be on one.
that's what I figured. It's like, I'm a renter, man. You should go after those guys. I'll give you their address. Like,
Yeah.
talk to my landlord. Okay, but I was just curious because it is a HOA. It's just one, the HOA gets the bill, the water bill.
Correct.
It's two large houses, one bill.
Yeah, and in our code, we do not get involved in separation. Now, what the owner can do, because when your place was built, the contractor or whoever decided, hey, I'm gonna have these two units, it's gonna be on 1 meter, almost like a house in an ADU.
Yeah,
And later that ADU can become sellable to someone else, right? And
Yeah,
so that's kind of what happened with that particular property. But the bill, there's only 1 meter.
Yeah.
So there's only one bill. Now, the option that those two units have is to consider adding a separate meter because they fight and they don't like each other and they're like, I'm not paying
Can
half
just
that
add-
bill you're using on
Yeah.
the water, right? But how much does it cost to add a meter?
right. So we're not allowing my situation anymore. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Where do I fall in the gaps of the code? So it's worked out in the code. But this won't
I
happen
wouldn't
anymore.
say that we're not allowing it anymore. There's still.
Well, then, we wouldn't allow if
There's
there's,
triplexes with a single meter, right?
no, not if they're over 900 square feet.
Over 900 square feet is the gotcha with us. Yeah, because we are both over 900.
Cause you would just.
So
yeah,
that's-
Yeah, that's the difference.
So 900 square feet. Okay.
Yeah, so if you
ADU.
had if you have two large units, you wouldn't be allowed to have a single. meter.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
One thing is I've been confused about it, maybe this is not the right time to ask, but with the new code that allows for like an ADU to be sold off as its own entity. If that's if it's less than 900 square feet and it's on the same meter, basically, then you end up with the same situation he's describing.
Yeah.
So that is something that is likely gonna happen.
Yeah,
in coming years. Okay.
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, similar thing that also gets billed as a residential unit. That's because they have the 1 meter. That's how we're handling that.
Questions?
Under the, on, page is this, on the next page, I guess, after definitions. Under 13.04.090. On the second page of that, sorry, where your red lines start. You added in, under section 8. You added additional language in there in section 8, and near the beginning. You talk about caused by intentional or reckless act by the utility customer. What does reckless mean? It feels kind of subjective to me and it seems like an odd word to use.
It's added.
Yeah,
I think
so
I
I've,
came for a legal counsel, but I think it was added a few different times for reckless. Was specific language our legal counsel wanted to see added.
how are we gonna quantify reckless?
That is a great question.
And that is a question for legal counsel.
Okay,
Yeah,
just feels very subjective and like it isn't all that helpful.
I noticed that addition too, and I went.
I don't really like it.
It would be on the city to prove recklessness.
Right.
And
And my guess is that that's gonna be really hard for us to prove, so what's the point of the language, I guess is kind of where I'm going with my comment.
Yeah.
Is like, if it's gonna be that hard for us to prove it, why put it in there?
There's probably some precedent somewhere, you know?
I don't know,
My creative mind is thinking about, somebody.
there hasn't
has
been
some
in
sort
the
of
decades of this
usage.
language
Yeah.
until now.
Well, somebody could utilize a ton of water for some reason.
They're running an
And then-
underground car wash,
Then they
right?
go in and they
Yeah.
break the pipe and they go, I had a leak. And then I don't have to pay the thing. you
I
know?
think it's, right?
It's a mechanism.
If somebody's running a business, a car wash and not registered business, right? And they're using an egregious amount of water. Right, for a business in their residential and not paying the business rate, they're not right, the commercial rate. That's reckless, that's abusive, right? Because you're not,
It's not.
you're running a
proof of leak,
business, a
though.
car wash.
That's not a leak though, so.
That's what I'm saying, but that's the reckless, that's the reckless part, right?
Right, but this is all
That's
about water
intentionally or
leaks.
reckless, you're getting away with something because you're not paying the commercial rate, you're paying the residential rate. right?
I
That's
guess
abusive?
to get into this whole section though, this all talks about, proof of a leak and how we credit for a leak.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess to Ann's point, like, we would need to prove. what
Oh, I
that
see,
business
I see,
is, and then that would discredit the rest of this, where we wouldn't give them a. Should not have used the word discredit.
It was a different one. I was.
But then where we wouldn't give them the credit for
I see.
repairing their leak.
Yeah. I read it differently this
Okay.
week, and I was stuck in making my point.
In
In my own little head.
I can tell you,
Thank you for
after
entertaining me.
seeing all the leak reimbursements that we do, which, well, generally a couple each month. People are not reckless. If people fix it and they come and they show us the bill, we're happy, we credit.
I guess
As we've
that
always
kind of
done.
drives my whole point on adding that word to begin
Right.
with as
Yeah.
well, like,
Right.
I don't want to assume that our residents are just gonna be reckless.
Yeah.
I mean, water costs a lot, they're not gonna be reckless with
Do we
it.
know why legal recommended that or
He
what?
didn't comment, he just added it in.
He just added it for.
But what was Selby? Selby was using an egregious amount of water for a long
It was a
time.
leak. It was a leak.
It was a leak.
He had a leak in his sprinkler system that he didn't know about.
But,
Uh,
but this is just about getting the credit.
Yeah.
Right.
Someone can recklessly turn on a hose and leave it on 24/7 and pay the bill.
Yeah,
They're
absolutely.
not asking for reimbursement. This is just about if they were reckless in their actions and then want us to credit.
To credit.
So, but yeah.
I can see somebody maybe, not call before you dig. And they start doing their own
Sure.
excavation work in their yard and they get spring a massive leak and then they're like, hey, and you go,
That's reckless.
you didn't call before you dig.
Mhm.
And, we're not gonna give you credit for that.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Good example.
That's an intentional act too, though, and that's already in the code.
And unless you feel adamant that you want it taken out, there must have been some reason legal counsel wouldn't, we could.
Well, I'm the only one who cares about that, so we can move on. In section 11, I thought the language was interesting, because I know what you're trying to get at, because section 10 starts off with like, we're not gonna turn off people's water if we're gonna be in a heat advisory. Heat related alerts, those sorts of things. 11 is if their water's already off, then it's incumbent on the user to ask the city to turn it off, and the city will use a reasonable effort to turn the service back on. That seems weird to me, like if we're gonna be really risk averse and not shut people's water off when there's a heat alert, why aren't we also going to be as adamant about turning their water back on if there is a heat alert? Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. This language is out of the RCW.
Yeah, it's,
Really?
yes.
Can we be better? We can always be better.
We will be better because Beverly is definitely very aware of this new code, and she's been wanting this code in here to support her efforts. But yeah, no, we would, if someone was already off, we would ensure going and turning them on as soon as a heat alert was activated. Or we wouldn't turn them off if we knew it was in the middle of that time.
Right, well, I mean, that's what 10 covers, but 11, it seems like we're not gonna work real hard to turn their water back on for them.
No, they're pretty cool.
We are.
What do we
But
just
can we
put it
write,
in there?
this
that
is
the city will
exactly
make
RCW language.
extensive effort to turn the water back on instead of reasonable, but just turn it back on.
Well, and I don't even think it should be a request, I mean, we're gonna track who doesn't have their water turned on, because it's probably not very many people, right?
Correct, for us,
Yeah.
it's great, but from the RCW perspective, what about Seattle? What about Tacoma?
No, I know, but we can
They're
always
dealing
change
with
the
this.
language. We don't have to just copy and paste the RCW.
They highly recommended that.
It's a recommendation, but we don't have to. There's
Yeah.
there's a lot of times that communities choose to modify the language so that it meets their own needs.
So you get a situation where a person has their water turned off for non-payment. We get a heat alert, they're gone. They're not requesting it be turned back on. They're not even there. So I mean, the fact that they have to request, is that your problem?
Well, that's assuming that they're capable of leaving. I mean, if people can't afford their water bill,
Well,
they might not be able to afford to travel either. So I'm just trying to be thoughtful about customers who are
I'm just saying.
struggling in our community and having to request having their water turned on during a difficult weather situation.
I think Ann has a point,
Yeah.
really. I think that I don't think we have to lockstep with the RCW. It's our municipality.
So we should automatically turn it back on. So
During the
we'll
heat
change
event,
it.
I think so.
Water's turned back on in the case of the heat event.
Would it be helpful if we just put at the end of that sentence, if the city has not already restored services?
Well, it still says that they may request a reconnection. It doesn't say that we're automatically gonna do it. It says we'll do it in a reasonable effort if the request is made first, basically. And I'm saying that I don't think that that should be the process.
So whether we know someone's in that dwelling or not, we should turn it on.
I think that's risky.
We can check and see if they're not living there, if it's vacant. But I feel like it shouldn't be, you know, if there's a heat advisory, someone should have to ask for water.
Do we have stats on at any particular time, how many dwellings have been shut off for non-payment or shut off for any reason?
We used to do between 10 and 15 shut-offs every month. We currently,
10 and 15 new shut-offs or 10 or 15?
10 to 15 people get their water shut off almost every single month in the past. Currently, we have a list of about 10 to 15. However, with due diligence and follow through and promissory notes, we tend to not shut off anyone at this time. We haven't shut folks off.
That's great.
This whole section was just to be in compliance with this RCW for heat. I'm sitting here trying to work out this language in my head, if you want to pass it tonight. Because we've been holding this language for almost 2 years, trying to get it into the code. It's been around for quite some time.
With staff, but we haven't seen it till it was in our packet.
I know.
That's why they said when they realized this 13 needed further
Yeah.
than just the
Yeah.
waiving. This was all driven by that need to waive those fees because of
Yeah.
the CHIP program. And then we get into it and go, oh, there's a few other things, so.
I feel like this code is really reaching out to people. It requires the city, when they give them a shut off notice, to give them instructions on how to request the turning back on. Basically notifying them, giving them every information they need to make sure they can get their water back on in the event of a heat advisory, whatever it says. Turning on the water without a request, I think is full of pitfalls. There's a lot of reasons. I mean, I've seen a lot of houses that get vandalized when they're distressed. People go and they yank all the plumbing fixtures, or they go to recycle the metals, and you know, if you go turn the water back on, that's a really bad idea. I think that I respectfully disagree with Jan. I think as written is probably fairly thought through for those reasons.
I can appreciate that. I'm thinking about non-vacant homes. People living without water.
Yeah, and they'll have all the information from the city
When they
how
get
to
it shut
turn
off.
back on right away.
And we're gonna have the language embedded within the notice when we are sending out that notice that we are disconnecting them. It's not like people don't know that they're being disconnected. They are actually hitting 90 days of non-payment. So they're getting a notice every single month that they need to come current or make a arrangement with us.
Or their water will be shut off.
So they have a window of 90 days to comply?
Yeah,
Okay.
because they get to be 60 days in arrears, but then we wait for that third month. Because they could make payment in that third month and catch up or even partially catch up. So essentially it ends up being almost 90 days before they actually get turned off for non-payment.
And do they know exactly how to get things back? I mean, they make payments, but and if they hit it, and they're well aware that if there's a heat advisory, whether they pay or not, they'll get their water turned back on as long as they make the request.
I don't know if people are really that aware. Because we haven't had the code and we
Yeah.
haven't put it forth. So
Yeah,
the whole point was we wanted this code so that we could put that language in our notices and move forward with it appropriately.
Number 11 says that the city shall inform customers in disconnection notices of the ability to request reconnection and how to do so.
Right.
And that's under the same, under 11 is talking about heat related alert. So
Yeah.
I think it's very clear right there that we need to make sure they know that in the event of a heat
Yeah.
alert, that they can get the water turned back on, and this is how you do it.
Right, and that's the language that we will put on that shut off notice. Mhm.
Other questions?
No, I think as long as the language is in there and it's real clear. If there's steps are really clear for them to take, I think I can go with that.
Any other comments from the public? Nobody online, right?
Nope.
Okay, seeing none, I will close this public hearing at 7:46. And we will go to our next public hearing on accessory dwelling unit code amendments again. Come to the microphone, state name and address for the public record. And all, these are comments. This is not question and answer time for us. All right, Maggie.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This evening, you are looking at proposed amendments to Leavenworth Municipal Code Chapters 1836, supplementary regulations, and 2190 definitions that are related to accessory dwelling units. This was discussed in a July 2nd joint meeting with the Planning Commission and also during a study session last month on July 22nd, where we kind of dug into the bulk of what the code changes are. This is driven by House Bill 1337, which amended RCW 3670A 680 and 681 to require all governments planning under the GMA to revise their regulations for ADUs within 6 months after the periodic update deadline. Ours is next year in December. That this would be required to adopt. However, when we discussed the Planning Commission docket for 2025, this was one of the higher priorities. So in June of this year, the Planning Commission did hold a public hearing for this. No comments were received and no public attended that hearing. So the code before you tonight is as reflected at that hearing, with one minor change to allow an increased lot coverage for each ADU. The staff report that's presented in your packet, along with the proposed amendments, are in your packet as well. The major changes are the allowance of up to 2 ADUs per lot instead of the current 1 ADU per lot. This is the basis of all this is to provide more affordable dwelling units to be available for rent or purchase. These would be smaller. Right now, our code allows these units to be 1,200 square feet or less. A majority of the units that are built currently are 900 square feet or less, because then they don't have to have the connection charges for water and sewer. I can go dig into the code, but didn't want to take too much time since we did such a deep dive during the last meeting. Some of the changes that the Planning Commission did add that aren't required by the state law would be increasing the allowable lot coverage for each unit. That was something they felt very passionate about because of the small lot sizes. If you remember, I showed you kind of a slide of a 6,000 square foot lot, and that increasing the lot coverage incrementally per unit, it added like an additional 200 some square feet of lot coverage, which in the grand scheme of things really wasn't a lot, but may allow somebody to get that extra unit that they maybe could have had they been limited. This also, one of the things that they recommended in this code is also requiring only a total of three off-street parking spaces if you have 2 ADUs. regardless of the size of the home. So currently our code requires 2 parking spaces if the home is over 15, the primary home is over 1,500 square feet. And then 1 space for each ADU, which would then require 4 if you had 2 ADUs. So with this code change, their recommendation was to require only 1 space per unit total. And then it would be up to the property owner to figure out how they're gonna provide parking. And then along with the definitions that were added, these were added just for, to align basically with RCW. If you look at the rationale in the table, that was the big driver, just so that we are compliant with state law. We did receive 1 comment today, and that was provided to you at your desk. This was from Ken Yalowitz with, he's at 201 Benton Street. And he did provide some good feedback that you can consider tonight at the hearing. And this was regarding limitations in square footage of the second ADU and also putting a limit on the allowance of the second ADU to be an STR. We currently wouldn't allow it to be an STR, but we could authorize it to be a BNB, which is an owner occupied. The owner would have to occupy one of the residences. So those were his 2 concerns and items for your consideration tonight. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available if you have questions.
Yeah, so on the parking, Maggie, one thing is that you've got 3 buildings, you got the residential house, then you got 2 ADUs. So each one is mandated to have at least 1 space for parking. So off here it says, off-street parking is now required for accessory dwelling. We kind of covered this before, but I just wanted to get clarification. It's the one on H where it's within a half a mile of a major transit stop.
Yeah.
So we're saying we don't have a major transit stop, so this doesn't apply. Is that what we're
Yeah,
saying?
so currently, if you look at the new definitions that align with RCW, we don't have anything that meets the definition of a major transit stop. So that would qualify, and that requirement is state law driven, so we have to have that.
You have to have this on. Okay.
Yeah,
And at some point, we might need it.
yeah.
We might have
If
a
we do
major
need
transit
it,
stop.
and it's within that half mile of major transit stop, yeah, we don't have to require for the ADU. Then because they could.
Use the
it needs to
transit.
go, yeah,
Right.
but so we are required to have that code language in there. For the RCW. But currently we don't need that.
Well, for me personally, I think Ken's got a good idea. I think from my perspective, limiting the second one to 1,000 feet is a good move. We're trying to keep it affordable. That's the whole idea here. I think that one should be limited to 1,000 feet, 1,000 square feet. And the second one also, they can't have an STR. So is he talking about a bed and breakfast, or do we know?
Yeah, he's talking about
The bed and breakfast?
the B&B with permit.
Okay. Well, it seems that's also a viable reason, since we've already got a code that says, we're limited to 4% of total structures. But I certainly think limiting the second to 1,000 feet makes sense.
I feel like it's gonna be self-limiting.
Yeah.
Specific to water. I don't think that going down to 1,000 feet is really gonna be that significant, because oftentimes people are gonna choose to have 900 square feet or less, just so that they don't have to pay for another water connection. So it's already gonna limit the size.
Plus, like Maggie said earlier, at least to me, the amount of space that people have, it's already limited.
Yeah, people have really small lots.
Yeah, I mean-
If they're gonna try and get 2 ADUs, they're not gonna be.
They're not.
Yeah, they're not-
1,200 square foot ADUs.
As a housing nerd and advocate, I feel like the missing middle is talked about a lot, and 1,200 is that missing middle. I think 900 square feet is like an apartment, small house, but if you want to, as a family, 2 or 3 bedrooms, I think we need that 1,200, and we probably should incentivize the 1,200s more versus limiting them.
Well, how can we figure if they're gonna build at 1,200 if they're not gonna have a space? Like, we're thinking,
They can't, if they can't, they can't.
If they can't, they can't, yeah, and
They could
that's
do it.
limiting.
2-story, 600 and 600. People can be creative. I just don't think we should limit people's options.
Right.
Because 1,200 square feet is the max in the state for ADUs.
yeah,
They can be attached to the residents too, to allow them to have more opportunity.
can your first one be your 1,200 and then your second one has to be smaller? I mean,
That's what he's just.
that way?
That's what he's.
I mean, that's what he's saying.
That's what he's saying, is the second one would be small.
We're saying that
Well,
We should-
so can we, if we go with this one, the way the code says, can both of them be 1,200 feet or, yeah, 1,200 square feet and you just stack them at 2 double-story ADUs?
It might have to be a bigger lot. I mean, this isn't mentioning, we're talking about a 6,000 square foot lot, but there's some bigger lots as well.
Right.
So,
So your bigger lots, 8,000 square feet might allow that.
yeah, that's what I'm saying, is
Possible.
that this,
Yeah,
you may not want to limit that second one if there's enough room on a lot.
I think from my perspective, I just soon, I'm not really too hot about the density thing anyway, myself.
Mhm.
And so, from my perspective, I think 1,000 square foot lot is 1,000 square foot building. The second one is what is enough, you know? So, yeah, I would like to see that happen before I vote for this myself.
So you're saying that the first ADU could be 1,200, but the second one can't be more than 1,000? So what if they built one that was 900 square feet? And then they wanted to build a second one, you're limiting them to 1,000, even though they could build 2 ADUs up to 2,400 square feet?
I guess I'm, from my perspective, thinking the density is an issue. And so I guess if your first one is 1,200, you can't have, I wouldn't want to see 2 1,200 square foot ADUs. Two stacks of 600 feet each, right? I wouldn't want to see that. So I think the second one needs to be, if you're gonna go 1,200, first one, second one has to be second. I just think the impact to the neighborhood is significant, and if you got three lots in a row doing that, which with the money that can be made with this, I think people would take a real advantage of that. My perspective.
Any other questions, comments?
I have a question for you, Maggie. Section D. There are some inclusions and exclusions on how you're calculating floor area. How did you and the planning commission come to discern what would and wouldn't be included in how the floor area is calculated specifically for ADUs, because it's not the same as the city's definition for floor area?
I think they were trying to be reasonable with the ADUs, and a lot of time this was driven by the planning commission and also let me see, floor area, the habitable basements and attics, excludes interior stairs, so we don't include stairs now in the floor area.
I think in the definition it is included though. It includes elevator shafts and stairwells for each floor in the definition.
But we historically have not included the second. It's been very hard, so like we don't double dip on stairs for people, so we wanted to make it very clear on ADUs, we're not gonna nitpick, so we wanted to just make it very easy to say this is what we're gonna count for the ADU, so it didn't have to be or picking and choosing. And so I think in this case, they wanted to clearly define what it was going to be. And because it's such a small space and most of them aren't, a lot of them have a garage with a stairway and a second floor. We didn't want to count that. We looked at a lot of scenarios, and this is what planning felt was the easiest way for staff to clearly define what that habitable area was.
Okay. Maybe at some point in the future, we should address the definition elsewhere in our common definitions. If you guys are generally not counting interior stairs in your calculation, it might be helpful to just remove that from the other definition at some point, so that people aren't going into design and thinking that, you know,
They're over.
that they're over because they're counting the stairs.
And it might be different with how they have the commercial buildings. I
Yeah,
don't know.
maybe something we can look at some point.
Yeah.
Other questions, comments? Anybody out there? No? All right, then we will close this public hearing at 7.
Oh, yeah, no public.
No.
There's no public.
There was not.
We don't have any public
40.
on at
Zero
all.
public.
Nope.
Wah, wah, wah. That makes me
Okay.
sad.
Interesting, yeah.
Except for,
Now we'll go into our action items. The first one is an ordinance 1713, LMC Title 13 Code Amendments.
Thank you, Mayor. So as you're aware, we just talked through the Title 13 edits. Let me know if you have any additional questions.
I make a motion that the Leavenworth City Council moves to adopt ordinance 1713, Leavenworth Municipal Code, Title 13 Code Amendments.
Second.
Moved by Mike. Seconded by Shane. Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, let me see your hands. And it passes unanimously. All right, ordinance 1714.
Thank you, Mayor. The council tonight is being asked to consider adoption of ordinance 1714. Accessory dwelling unit code amendments to chapters 1836 and 2190 to reflect newly adopted state regulations.
The Leavenworth City Council moves to adopt ordinance 1714 accessory dwelling unit code amendment.
Second.
Moved by Shane, seconded by Travis. Any other questions? All those in favor, let me see your hand. All those opposed? And it passes 6-1 with Zeke voting against. All right, item 11, professional service agreement on our parking garage feasibility and design phase 1, Brantley.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. City Council is being asked to approve a professional service agreement with ARC Architects for the downtown parking garage feasibility and design phase 1 of the project. Just to give you a little bit of background information, this couple months ago, city staff developed a scope of work to basically find a location for a parking garage that would add 200 plus spaces. That's in addition to what we have, so 200 additional spots. And at 2 different locations within 1,000 feet, basically of the gazebo. This essentially what we did is we developed a scope of work. We sent it out to interested parties. We received 8 interested firms, and then a team went through and reviewed the statement of qualifications and picked the highest rated 4. And then there was a team of individuals who actually interviewed the highest rated 4, and we selected ARC Architects. Just as a little bit of information, every single person who was in the team that was interviewing the consultants had ARC ranked as their number 1. So that, I mean, they did a really good job during the presentations. One of the reasons, and this is my personal opinion, one of the reasons I think they were selected number 1 is they had a really good team as part of their design consultant team. Specifically, I just wanted to point out their, was it PCS Structural. They've designed between 50 and 100 of these parking type themed garages all across the country, and they've done some stuff that's really going to help us out. They actually were super knowledgeable and helpful during the interview process. And then also there's a group, they had Heffron Transportation, who's a highly regarded transportation firm located in Washington. So just having those 2 people alone on this team is really going to, increase the chances of a successful project. Just talk a little bit about phase 1. So we're coming here today to request approval for the funding for the phase 1. Phase 1 is basically determining the site analysis, and also look at some geotechnical information, also look at the possibility of bathrooms, also commercial space. And once we collect all this information, we'll be able to put together a recommendation for the city council and the community on the best location for this future parking garage. Any questions?
Questions?
Well, if it was the Little Beirut parking lot, the one down below, is all the things you described fit into that?
Yes,
So it's plenty big enough.
there's
for what
plenty
you're
big.
talking
Yes.
The consultant will figure that
Well,
out.
we're right, we'll figure out, the structural pieces and all of those pieces.
That's in phase two, though. That's
Yeah.
developing a design.
But the potential.
But the potential.
Yeah, but the potential's there.
Well, I'm thinking, where else could it go? Do you have a couple other spots?
There,
Here.
the other,
There's gotta be
the
one.
other site that was identified in this, the report or the study was.
This out here,
Basically,
behind City Hall? Or,
Beside,
Dragon Tail and Enchantments, I think.
but the two,
I guess I'm not following you.
next door and behind us is the other one that qualifies to be enclosed.
Behind and next door,
Right,
Lions Club Park,
no, the other way.
the other way.
Is
The
our
parking lot.
parking lot. This way,
Where
Sharon,
am
over
I?
here.
Where's the pool? Over there?
Yeah.
What was that way?
It's that way. Parking is that way.
So they're considering the lot next to the bank? Is that a
Yeah.
possible selection?
That's a possibility.
Okay.
So
Directionally challenged.
Yeah, direction. Any other questions?
Leavenworth City Council moves to approve and authorize the mayor to execute a professional services agreement with ARC Architects for the downtown parking garage feasibility and design phase one with a not to exceed amount of $259,744.
Second.
Okay, moved by Ian, seconded by Travis. Any other questions? All those in favor, let me see your hand. And it's unanimous. All right, the next one is a work authorization. All utility repair, KRCI, that's also Brent.
yes, the city council's asked to approve a project located at 225 Prospect Street. It's for a sewer main repair. This originally a year or so ago, a previous project, we were doing some sewer repairs, some lining across the city. And during the course of that project, we found this location on 225 Prospect. There was actually the sewer line had actually settled and was causing some flow issues. So we, at the time, tried to go in there and make these repairs, but we didn't have an easement at this property at that particular time. So the city's worked hard over the last period of time to actually get an easement, get an agreement with the property owner. Now we're going to go back and actually fix that sewer line and then line that portion of sewer once we fix it.
Questions?
It's a group effort on that one.
Yeah, how much was the cost? Did we have to pay the builder? I mean, the people, Mrs. Sabito?
30, Sabito, the easement,
So 35,000.
30, yeah, it's 30 something. I don't have that number. I think.
Oh, look.
You know, this has come through the council multiple times. This is the property we've always been talking about.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
It's a sewer, right?
Motion, do it.
I have a. Yeah, look that up.
35,493.
What?
35,493.
And is that, okay, so we're all good there.
Or done.
Okay.
While this is being done, we have an easement. Is there any way that we're addressing the water supply to the neighboring property that's had no water for years?
We have talked to the neighbor about that, so apparently I haven't even.
Okay.
But the easement language doesn't discuss that, and it wouldn't be the city's property because the meter sits on Prospect Street. And then their service line, it's the customer's responsibility, is what actually crosses that same property. We've talked to them and told them, unfortunately, we are not able to do that. If they secure the easement, they could go ahead and do that. It's a really challenging situation. Maggie and I have met with them multiple times to try to give them other options. Exceptions for them, but unfortunately they haven't been.
Any other questions? I entertain a motion.
Leavenworth City Council moves to approve and authorize the mayor to execute a work order with KRCI LLC under the 2025 on-call utility repair contract, the 225 Prospect Street sewer main repair in the amount of $103,000, $103,121.
Second.
Moved by Clint, seconded by Shane. Any other questions? All those in favor, let me see your hand. It's unanimous. Right, that concludes our action items. Council report, Sharon.
I have one tonight. Very short. On August 8th, the mosquito board, we had a mosquito board meeting at the fire hall with continued hiring process discussions. On August 5th, had a phone conference with Una McAlvin, is that her name? Alvin. Regarding the changes I would like to see, and she's contacted everybody, I'm sure by now. All will be discussed at the council retreat on Tuesday, October 26th, right here in council chambers, scheduled for 5 to 7 p.m. So I just wanted to understand, so we are not having a regular meeting.
No regular
Nothing.
meeting. Right.
Everything,
This
okay.
is instead of the regular meeting for the inter.
Okay, and then on August 6th, I attended the mayor's breakfast at Crystal's, which was delicious.
All right, Clint.
No reports to give at this time.
Yeah.
A week ago Monday, Selby graciously met me and walked the well field with me and showed me all of the stakes. I couldn't make the during the weekday work hour time. So Selby had agreed to meet with me and walk me through that. And it was really great. It also brought up a whole lot of questions that I had at the time. That he said he would get back to me on. But I really appreciated that time with him walking me through everything that was going on out at the well field. It was really great to see it in person. I'm such a visual person.
Did help, didn't it?
It did, and it's fantastic that staff has had everything staked out. You can really see. It brings the site plan to life, which is very helpful. And then yesterday I had a committee meeting for Link Transit for our strategic plan that is coming right along. We're basically just working on goals and policies and those sorts of things. Nothing really of particular interest specific to Leavenworth, other than it's great for your public transit to have a strategic plan. So that's all I've got.
I agree.
I was able to attend that walkthrough of the, with the fence for the wells, and it was an excellent presentation, well worth the time. I think Chris is the one that is the head of the bicycle. So he went back and really did an excellent job of showing exactly where that fence is going to go and downsize the whole space, which is a kudos to him. And then he also showed me inside. I hadn't been inside that building before. And so well worth the time. I really appreciate it. Got a much better sense of what that fence is all about. And just the issues with the neighbors, that was surprising, but that's human nature. But that's my report.
I don't have much to report either, but I was able to attend the mayor's breakfast last week, and it was really awesome to see the mayor give out, service awards and just see how long some of our staff have been employed with the city. And just want to give kudos to everyone for doing such a great job, sticking with us. Seems like a great place to work. That's under my report.
Great. I'm always looking at open jobs at the city too. I'm like,
Yeah.
I would love to interview for some of these positions that come open.
Really? Zeke was there too, right? At the mayor's breakfast.
I showed up late, but I made it.
Yeah, Zeke
Wasn't much food left, but I got part of it.
Yeah. I attended that. Like you said, that was great to see all the awards that were handed out and see how, some of the long time employees for the city. Then I met Carl, met the mayor for a pint. First of all, rest assured, we figured out all the global political things between, I think we got it figured out, right?
Yeah.
Rest assured.
Until the next day.
Until, yes, yeah, until we woke up the next morning. And I think it was more for me to get a better understanding of what has changed or what, I don't want to say renewed energy, because the mayor's been about this for so long, using hotel taxes for housing. I just want to get a better understanding. So we had a nice conversation. I appreciate your time. So that's it.
See, on the 23rd of July, went to the Mend groundbreaking for their new duplex, which was exciting. See more housing being built here in the community for our workforce. 24th was a housing advisory committee meeting. And then if I can read my chicken scratch here. Oh, I had a Zoom meeting on the 29th with the facilitator for our retreat.
Oh, yeah, right.
I met with the mayor also to talk about workforce housing and some strategizing. And I met with Marco about ice rink. We had a nice chat about that. I went to the city well site. This is on the 31st as well. Tour, excellent presentation. I had to sit down with the president of the hospital board who wanted to pick my brain about this stuff, make more of a meet and greet, and then had a follow-up on behalf of the Housing Advisory Committee with Troy Chamber. We had a very productive conversation about lodging tax and housing.
Any new developments on the rink you can share with us?
Nope.
No.
No. Yeah.
I believe that Marco's gonna come and present to us at the beginning of September at our
September.
first.
Okay.
Yeah, a study session.
You've been asking him.
It'll finally be official,
Yeah.
official council conversation.
Yeah, and development wise, I mean, it was a good conversation, but I mean, yeah, it was a long conversation. I'm not gonna rehash it right now.
No big breakthroughs. Okay, very cool.
Yep. Just real briefly, I think I mentioned that, we had been put on hold with the Attorney General on whether we can use the lodging tax, in that manner. And, we got that restarted because they told me all you need to get is a legislator. It doesn't have to be your own in order to sponsor this, and then we can pick it up again. I happen to know Senator Jamie Peterson, who is the majority leader of the Senate, and I was his pastor for a while. So I got a hold of him and said, would you sponsor this request? And he said, glad to. So it's gone back to the Attorney General, and the good news is it doesn't drop back down to the bottom. They had already done a lot of the work, so they will pick it up from where they left off.
Great.
So we will, he did warn me. He said, we have multiple steps, so it's not an immediate thing, but it isn't gonna have to start at the bottom again. So we will eventually get a ruling from the Attorney General on what his opinion is on whether we can use that. And that's
Nice.
all I've got. Down. Whoa, I'm gonna fall.
Get that jumping chair.
Adele,
There's a little handle underneath you for
The-
locking.
lock it.
I think it unlocked on you. Okay. Thank you, Mayor. USDA food waste grant, we are officially done.
Hey,
The grant did end as of July 31st. Ariana and Robette got me their final invoices. I submitted the final grant request today. And now we have to do closeout, which we have up to 90 days to do. And I'm sure between me and Ariana, it'll take us the 90 days. We do have them scheduled for October at this point, and they both wanted to come and just give you a presentation of the overall grant and how that went. At this point in time, I have not provided a loan to the pool fund. Just wanted to let you know that. We're looking good for this month. If revenues keep coming in strong, we might make it through next month for sure. And then property taxes are starting to roll in. So I'm not quite sure if I'm gonna need a loan this year, but I will keep you posted on that. And last but not least, business licenses. So there's a model ordinance change coming from the Association of Washington Cities was tasked as a work group. They brought in lots of cities. What's happening is there's a exemption threshold for how high someone can make money. And we are not allowed to require them to have a business license when they are outside the city. That is going from $2,000 to $4,000. I'm giving you this heads up because we're gonna push it on you fast and hard. Unfortunately, we have to have the ordinance with that change to the Department of Licensing by October 1st. So at your September study session, we'll review the code language. And then the second meeting in September, we will adopt so I can transmit that over by October 1st. With that being said, it's an opportunity to look at all of Title V and see if there's anything else we want to change. What typically would we change? Well, within the code, we don't have the actual rate structure. But if I want MLS DOL to implement those rate changes on January 1, because they need 75 days advance notice to change rates, we would have to do that at the same time. So I'm prepping you with the study session. I'll give you some handouts from MRSC as well as Department of Licensing. Unfortunately, what I found when I looked at DOL's sheet is a lot of cities are like us. There's more than one rate. So when you look at it, it just says city various. But a lot of them have a link that either you can delve into if you look at the document, or we can research further. So what I'm hoping to get from you from the study session is if we come in here and we talk about rates and we do want to consider rate changes, have an idea in mind of which cities you would like me to get more detail on. That way I could get that detail done. Because we typically only have the 3 days after our meeting for us to meet the next packet deadline. But I'll be prepared to do that research. I just need to know which cities you guys want me to do. So just take a look at the
Andrew,
list.
give those hyperlinks in the packet that she emails us before the city council meeting.
It's a PDF document that has links
Yeah.
embedded on it.
Well, we'll get that. Okay, so you're just gonna send that out ahead of time.
You'll have it at the study session. You'll be able to tell me if you want me to find more information before the second meeting in September.
Uh.
I do know that when we've looked at business licensing statewide, Leavenworth is one of the higher ones. I'm not pushing for rate changes. I just figured this is an opportunity. The rates for business licenses have not changed since I've been here. Very long time.
Becky.
I don't think I have too much to share. We met with the planning commission earlier this month and worked through some parking and triplex and all the fun stuff that we kind of discussed at our joint meeting. So those discussions are moving forward. We had our kickoff meeting for the transportation element last week with Verteet, and that was fun with Public Works. We met with our outreach group today to look at fun ways we can reach out to different demographics in the city. So we're planning some little pop-up events you'll see forthcoming. And then we did sign the contract with Deckard for Rentalscape to monitor vacation rentals. And that should go live at the end of September, beginning of October. So you'll see more there too. Okay.
Great, Andy.
Yeah, I'll be pretty quick. Just a couple items to update on. As we're looking at utility rate increases, just a fun fact that over the last month, we've been averaging about 1 water leak per week that our team is addressing. Which is not good. Brantley did an awesome job of putting together a new stop sign warrant policy. And so he has gone through, if you've seen stop signs that have gone up at a few different locations throughout town, that's because of the warrant that Brantley did, so thank you. And we will bring a resolution to just formally rescind the previous policy and instead just have the city engineer be responsible for determining if the stop sign is warranted or not versus the previous policy we had that had a bunch of different criteria and was open to a little bit more personal preference than having our city engineer.
Is the new warrant, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, is the new warrant system going to allow stop signs in the middle of the block? Just checking.
Yeah.
Just checking.
Brantley can speak to it, but it's out of the MCD.
Yeah, there's a formal process of it, MUTCD. Very rarely would you put a four-way stop sign in the middle of a block, but it's.
Or a two-way, I mean,
Anyway,
just checking, because it's gonna be asked.
Yes. No, it actually gets us even further away from that.
Okay.
It's, I mean, I'll be happy to show you the reports, but there's a very, you have to start with the least restrictive, you have to move down.
Yeah, so we won't,
Is there also a way to get rid of stop signs and turn them into yield signs by chance? Do we have anything like that in the city right now?
haven't done that to my knowledge, and I would defer to Brent on that.
It's the same, I mean, literally, I mean, MUTCD warrant process is you start off with yield, you start off with nothing. Then you start off with yield signs, and then you start off with two,
I feel like it's kind of in town been haphazardly
it has-
installed over the decades, so now I'm just curious.
if you have a particular intersection that you're,
I can reach out to you individually. I have a question about a specific intersection, so.
We have an expert, so.
Love it. Expert on
like
board.
becoming an.
Pressure's on, pressure's on.
And then just the last update I have for you, did want you to be aware of the pool where you are looking at potentially getting away from the salt cell system that we have. Couple things. One, we have a current salt cell we're having issues with, so instead of replacing, we're looking at long-term getting off that anyway. It's gonna save us in O&M costs, and it's also going to decrease the pool closure time after, yeah, the accidental fecal loops. So, just wanted you to be aware, in talking with Selby, he feels that that is just a staff decision, and so that's how we're moving forward, but wanted to keep him on that. That's
Can
all.
we add any language to fecal release and add reckless into that?
Well, click.
Who would determine it?
Or intentional.
I move to
An
adjourn.
intentional or reckless act of fecal release. Do we have a fine system?
Well, I was thinking the same thing. We should.
I move to adjourn.
Nice note to end on.
Yeah.
That was good.
I'd have a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? It's unanimous. Let's go home.
I think all right.
Good shit.
We did have a phantom pooper one summer.